Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Google Partners Academy on Air for Thursday, November 9th. My name is Alex Chen, a product marketing manager on the automotive team. You may remember me from other partners events, such as the Partners Connect for retail shopping for the holidays. And I'm really excited today to be here to talk to you about focusing on closing the sale after the sale, talking a little bit about best practices for dealers on automotive maintenance and services. Because driving and helping to re-engage new and existing car buyers to help with their automotive services is going to be really great for you to help succeed on Google. So let's start a little bit on talking about today's agenda. We'll start with looking at a couple of insights from Google about today's service shopper, what's driving them to search and where they're searching to help them get what they need. And then we'll talk about how and what this means for dealerships, what it means for the opportunity that dealerships can have when they do have a service center, and also how they can get to these customers. And lastly, we'll then combine all that together and talk about strategies and best practices for driving those customers to your stores. And then we'll have a couple key takeaways and also live Q&A for everyone who's watching. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and hashtag and ask questions directly within the live stream as well. So let's get started and jump into the shift that we're seeing with current car owners and their behaviors when faced with the moments that matter and searching about new car maintenance. So one great thing to take a look at right now is that consumers are owning new cars for longer. A little over a decade ago, there were about 4.3 years on average for when new car owners had a car. Fast forward about 10 years, and now the ownership average is about 6.5 years. So what does this mean for the service and maintenance industry? Well, it means that there's more time that customers are looking for services that you provide on that specific car. Going from 4.3 to 6.5 years in average ownership means that car owners are seeing greater than 50% longer lifespan out of the cars that you've sold them. This also means that they're seeing a large number of average miles driven per year, again, doubling by 15,000 each year. What that also means is that they have more opportunities for oil changes, tire changes, 30K, 60K, 90K services that can all come to your dealership. More miles and longer car ownership means that a new car owner will need to make a lot more of these appointments. And if they bought the car from you, that means they might come back to you as well for those services. And services is now representing a really large portion of overall automotive consumer spend. We've seen data with the National Automotive Dealer Association showing that there's going to be 350 billion annual consumer spend on vehicle repair alone. That's a really, really huge number in terms of everybody who needs to have automotive maintenance and services. That's a lot of transmissions, winter tires, and oil changes. So that means there's a huge opportunity to reach those customers in need. Right now, it's expected that only 30% of that 350 billion is being serviced by dealers. So 30% of those consumer spend is a lot of the services and the maintenance is being captured by dealers. But wouldn't it be great if you can get a little bit more of that? So ask yourself, how at my dealership are we advertising services to gain more customers? Well, you may not want to try to capture that entire other 70% of consumer spend on dealership, on services and maintenance. But if you do have capacity at your service stations on certain weeks, certain weekends, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for you to grow and drive more customers to your service center. And in seasons like upcoming winter, where people are searching for services because they see it's rainy and they have to change their tires, or they have to try to get their car winter and snow ready, it's essential to build a great strategy to help those customers and service customers who are in need of help. And we have a lot of data on what people are searching on Google, and that includes how they're searching for parts and service. We're actually seeing that 1 in 4 automotive category searches are related to parts, service, and maintenance. That's a lot of people making searches every day, thinking about how they can upgrade their car, improve their car, or make sure that it stays running throughout the entire winter season. But these customers also don't plan ahead. We've seen some data that shows that more than 40% of service shoppers need reactive versus routine maintenance. So people don't really plan their maintenance. They're actually reminded that they have to get an oil change by a sensor in their car, or they're seeing seasonal changes, like I mentioned in winter, where the first day of rain, they notice that things are driving a little bit more slick, so they want to look at their tires and get things checked out. Customers are looking for immediate help with an immediate need. So that's another thing to keep in mind as you build out a strategy and think about your services and parts that you offer, is that not everybody plans in advance when they're going to get their next 3,000 or 7,000 mile oil change. It's when something tells them or reminds them of it. And as the world is moving towards mobile first, a majority of these searches and services are happening on the go. When you drive to work and you see that your engine light goes on saying that you have to get an oil change, you're likely to be walking between your car and your office, checking your phone to say, okay, what's the closest place for an oil change near me that I can go during lunchtime? More than half of searches related to parts and services are also now just taking place on mobile. This makes it really important to have an amazing and seamless mobile experiences so that when people search for what you offer, they can get it really fast on their mobile device. So that's great. There's a growing customer base of people who are owning their cars longer, and that represents $350 billion in consumer spend this year looking for service. And these consumers are going online to help, largely using their mobile devices. So where do you come in? Where do your ads come in? And where does Google come in search and video? Let's go through a couple basic strategies, as well as advanced search strategies that can help you show up in the moment of need, whether it's someone looking to schedule an appointment or looking for that immediate appointment today. And then we'll also talk a little bit about other ways you can re-engage and engage your existing customer base to help you build that brand of your dealership and then drive them to the store in the future as well. So let's start with search fundamentals, the basics and foundations to get you showing to those customers, especially on mobile devices, searching for all the right maintenance and service help. So the first step is to show up where it matters. You want to build a really great keyword structure for those services and create a separate campaign for services so you can monitor and track what's going on through there, different than your new car sales or used car sales. Here are a couple recommended structures that we think you should look into with keywords using things like dealer name and parts and service, or including the car brand, the car model, and the parts and service category, looking at the brand and parts and service category, or just the car model and parts and service category. We lead with dealer name because, like I mentioned earlier, you'll probably have a lot of returning customers who have bought a car from you and recognize your brand and your name, and might just think it's much more convenient to go to your dealership to get the servicing done because they already trust and know who you are. So definitely, if you are creating a first-time campaign for services, start with dealer name and parts and services too. And when I say parts and services, I mentioned what I want to clarify is to also say and include the different types of services you offer. So if you know your customers are coming in for oil changes and tire maintenance versus things like the 30, 60, or 90K maintenance, then focus on those first. You should already have a good understanding and idea of which parts and services you frequently see customers come in with and lead with that. Then build out the rest of the structure. So here's a few examples. I'm sure everyone can come up with what types of searches consumers would come and look at. But these are different examples of how car model and brand actually help drive those searches. So oil changes is the parts and service. Ram 1500 is the model and the brand. You also have, it's almost looking for just a Jeep dealer that will help your dealer in your parts and services piece. The last two are actually also very great examples of location of where these people are searching or how they're searching. So many times, if they have an immediate need, which was 40% of shoppers, they're going to say something like Chrysler oil change deals near me or Jeep service near Detroit. So that means there's also a geo aspect to layer on top of this. So let's go back to our keyword structure. Let's say you actually know that a lot of your dealerships, a lot of your customers actually like to plan ahead when they want to do their service. Well, if they're planning ahead, they're likely not at home making those schedules and looking for services. They could be at work, they could be out and about, and something's reminding them that they have to actually make this service appointment. That's when adding geo, like city, zip code, really helps and comes into play. Because if someone's working in the next town over, but they want to find your dealership in Detroit that offers services, adding geo into that structure matters. Now, near me is a great intent that Google already sees when people are making queries and searches. So if someone just searches for oil change, Google will actually know whether or not they're looking on a mobile device for something nearby. So you won't always need to include near me, but we recommend having at least the city and the zip code as a part of this if you really know that a lot of your services are planned and coming from out of town. So here's an example of looking at ad excellent. Here's a really great ad that you can see as a first position. So if you're a dealership and you offer services and you reach the first position, you're able to actually show not only your title and headline and description in your website, but also a lot of extensions as well that can really help drive the engagement and help match the intent of specific shoppers. So first off, as you start looking at creative, think about your title with clear branding about your dealership, your services, and a call to action for the headline. And in this case, it's talking about oil changes. Then think about all the different types of extensions that you can have to fit the intent of your customers. Here's a couple of really great extensions with AdWords that you can use for dealerships for your services. There's the price extension, call extension, site links, location, and message. So two things I really want to call out here that are awesome is location and call. So with location, you can actually show, it highlights and shows the mobile search and the desktop search where you are. So if you're nearby, let's say 3.9 miles away, and you're just on the way home from work, it's a perfect way for them to actually know that this is close, convenient, and they can contact you. Also, having the call extension or the message extension, if you have a team that supports it, allows customers to have one click that goes in directly into the phone call, and then they can actually contact you through there, which is really great if you want to drive that intent and engagement, bypassing the site and setting it straight to your schedule and service department. Again, this is getting a seamless experience for mobile shoppers who may not want to go to your site and browse and want to talk to someone directly to either ask about the service, ask if you have availability, or just schedule something immediately. And of course, this is on the first position on the mobile site. So you'll see value in being the top position for mobile, since you'll be able to own much of the content that's being shown at the top as well. So you'll stay on top of mind for everyone who's searching for you. Also, let's talk a little bit about promotions. So being a car owner myself, I love going to find services that also have great deals. A lot of times you'll see 15% off, $15 off for oil changes, or maybe a percentage off for a certain regularly scheduled maintenance. You can use promotion extensions to identify what's unique about your searches, such as the promotion extension, like this $15 off oil change. And so if someone's searching for not only the certain type of service you offer, but also see that, they're more incentivized to actually go and see what you have to offer. One thing I also want to call out with all of these different extensions is that you should try to have 4 to 5 different extensions available for your ads at one time. This allows Google to help rotate them based on the intent of what people are looking for. So if they're looking for phone numbers, it'll highlight calls more. If it'll look for address and location, it'll highlight location more. So it's really great for you to have those options available to drive that intent for that specific shopper's needs. Lastly, think about stepping up your creative. So 40% of people who search for maintenance didn't plan forward. So they need something immediate. So it means that they're in that moment where they just need it now. Maybe they have a spare hour or their check ledger line went on. You can actually schedule ads and extensions to handle this in addition to mentioning this in your text directly. You can use callout extensions, which are 2 to 6 all callouts that are part of your text and part of the description, which can actually show things like open now or show things like what your operating hours are. So you can create really great creative that highlights the information that people are looking for, such as operating hours, location, or the specific types of service that you offer. And then use schedule to show maybe the opening hours when you guys are closed and when it's open, say open now, so people know that they can call you and get immediate help from one of your service representatives. So that's it for the fundamentals. It's really about showing up and being there when people are searching for you. It's a great way for you to highlight, again, that great experience on the mobile result, to show the different extensions and the different ways that users can interact with your ads and drive that engagement to either call your service, visit your website, or send a text message. And now that you have the fundamentals shown, by doing things such as showing up on relevant local queries, you're in top of mind for consumers. So let's start a little bit about a few more advanced and complex strategies that you can add a layer deeper to use more signals to reach more shoppers. First, think about locating your audience. So one thing that, if you're like me, sometimes finding a local dealership or a service center to get maintenance done is essential. So not only do you want to find something in your city, you want to find something really nearby and close, just a few miles away. And maybe you don't want to drive too far on a spare tire because you need to get a tire change, or you know that you're pushing the limit of how long it's been since you've got your oil change. And so the closer, the better. Well, with local bid adjustments, you can set multiple bid modifiers for any range that you can define. And by doing this, you can actually set a different range of how much you want to change your bids based on where your location is for your dealership and your service center. So for example, we have 3 different bid modifiers here. We have a 1-mile radius, a 5-mile radius, and a 10-mile radius. So if I know that a lot of my customer service shoppers come from a nearby area or a nearby city, I can set a 1-mile radius around my dealership and increase bids by 50%, knowing that they will likely come to my store for my services or reach out to my services more immediately because they want something nearby. And then as you get farther away, maybe that 5-mile radius, you think, okay, they're still very valuable because they're willing to drive to my location, but I'm going to lower that bid by a little bit less than the 50% I gave to the 1-mile radius and put it at 30%. And then lastly, you can set a third radius for 10 miles for folks that are nearby that might be, again, browsing at work in a nearby city and knowing that they want to come back to your service center, but then they're actually a little bit less likely to come in. This is, again, a great way to layer on top of things like your opening hours. So if you know that people are immediately looking for help, and you have space in your service space to drive same-day services for oil changes and tire changes, set a 1-mile radius 50% bid modifier on top of when your store is open. It's a powerful local message to send to those who are really looking for immediate help. Also, always try to reach out to your past visitors and re-engage with those that have already gone to your page. You can create a remarketing list in AdWords to reach customers with customized search messaging. So a remarketing list is a list of people who have visited different pages of your website. So you can create a remarketing list for anyone who's visited your homepage or a vehicle detail page, or in the parts and services case, one of your parts and services checkout pages or registration pages, or you can actually, or if it's one of those pages where you have service deals and coupons. So it's a great way for you to create a list of people who showed interest in services that you offer, but may have not yet contacted your store. So if you have this list, you could think about bidding on your dealership to these car buyers and remind them that you provide specific services to what they bought. For example, here we have in the image below, a group of customers who have bought Hondas from your dealership. Think about applying this remarketing list to anyone looking for Honda repair. So by targeting this specific group, you'll show up as a brand that they know and trust. Lastly, if your main goal for parts and services is to drive calls to your service department, and that's the one thing you want to do so their service department can take those leads and schedule appointments, make it easy with call-only ads. Call-only ads get customers connected to your service department fast. Instead of clicking on the ad and going to your website, it directly opens up the dialer in their mobile phone and actually allows them to just press the call button and go directly to your services. Another great thing about call-only ads is you have a specific bid adjustment called a call bid adjustment that allows you to control how often the call option shows for your ads versus the option to click through to go to your site. Again, You can actually set this up with different scheduling. So when you can increase the call bid adjustment during opening hours. So if you have people who are ready to answer the phone, let's say between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m., you can set your call bid adjustment higher so they get more phone calls there. And then once that ends, take down the call bid adjustment so that it goes back to your website and they can send in a lead through an email or leave a message on your website to help schedule those appointments. So here's an example in a case study from Toyota Kansas City, who used a coordinated search strategy to really get to their goal of driving more service phone calls and appointments. So they separately created a service and parts branded campaign and then used things like call extensions to help drive more mobile engagement direct to their service center. So their results, by creating a separate branding campaign using the strategies we talked about today, as well as focusing really well on mobile, was to drive traffic to Toyota dealers in that region by 13 percentage points. They also saw an increase in number in their labor and repair order sales. And they've also seen an average CTR of 2x higher than the industry average that we saw. One thing to note about their insights for Toyota Kansas City is that they actually knew that they were getting more traffic going to their websites from mobile devices. So look at your mobile site and take a look at how much mobile traffic you're seeing these days. It's probably likely over 50%, which means you want to try to tailor your strategies and really help building a better mobile engagement to those who are coming from mobile devices. So great. You have everything set for your basic fundamentals for search and your advanced search practices. So let's think about how you can actually continue the conversation and drive engagement and awareness with your customers. So we're seeing really great engagement by going the extra mile in developing really engaging video on YouTube. Automotive how-to videos are actually in the top 3 of how-to content viewed on YouTube. I myself go all the time to see whether or not I can change my own oil, change my own tires, and do other little services. But probably like many others, I'll go and look at those videos and say, you know what, I really do need help with the service center to do that because I don't have the tools or I don't have the time to do so. And it's not just me. Of people who took their vehicle in for services, 65% of those people first heard about the service center they visited through a video, which means they were watching videos on YouTube and they thought, this is one dealership that had great content. Let me trust them and have them manage my car for me. So if you have the bandwidth and the ability to start developing and creating really great video on the cars that you sell to help educate your customers and people who have bought cars from you. It also really generates really great brand awareness for your local dealership in terms of giving people the understanding that you're not just selling them a car, but you're also trying to help them keep it operating for those 6.5 years, and it gets to that longer time frame versus the 4.3 we talked about earlier. And if you have video assets created after that, you can then show them as advertisements on YouTube to focus on intent and relevance for people who are also watching other videos, again, repair videos and service videos as well. So one option of that is TrueView InStream. It's for viewers who are looking at specific videos related to auto or have browsed in auto in the past, and they can start seeing your content immersed in full sight, sound, and motion experience. It's really hard to read a manual that looks through 100 pages about a car, but then actually seeing that right information within 30 seconds or 90 seconds is so much easier to digest and absorb. A couple tips if you're thinking about using TrueView InStream. Think about including strong call to actions in the companion banners. And then also highlight the brand and call to action in the first 5 seconds of the video. The great thing about TrueView InStream is that many of them are skippable ads. So if after the first 5 seconds, you don't want to see the information in this ad or it's not relevant to you, the person viewing can actually skip the ad. The great thing about this for dealerships and advertisers is that you don't get charged for that view or that impression. So it's a win-win in both situations. If you send it to someone who's really interested in seeing this content and they're watching it 30-second or 90-second, you're going to get a really engaged viewer who's also likely to look more into your brand and what you offer for services. There's also an option called TrueView Discovery Ads, where users can opt in to watch your ad by clicking thumbnails to initiate video and really giving a really great engaged engaged user for yourself. So as someone's looking on searching for different things like oil changes or looking for maintenance suggestion on YouTube and looking at how to help, and your video shows up in those results, then it can really drive that brand awareness and drive people to your content and potentially drive more traffic to your stores and your customer service departments. A few tips if you're thinking about using TrueView discovery ads, think about this kind of like text and search. Use relevant titles, descriptions, and thumbnail images to really increase the click-through rate, making it relevant for people who are searching for those things. Within the video, tell viewers to visit your site, subscribe, or other details, and also add those within the description so people can see that too. And then also make a playlist, have other videos that link off of that continue the discussion. If it's about oil change, talk about tire changes after that or other maintenance as well. So that's great. If you actually were able to create an engaging content within YouTube and you have all these videos in your YouTube account, and then you actually have different ads such as TrueView in YouTube to reach those shoppers and those service shoppers, the other thing you can think about now is think about how you can tie that with your search campaigns. So now you can use YouTube video views and channel interactions to power remarketing lists, as I mentioned, in your search campaigns. So with YouTube remarketing lists, you can remarket to people who have previously interacted with your YouTube channel. So say they watched how to change a Toyota Camry oil video from your site on YouTube. Then as they go to Google and search about maybe local places to help get oil changes, you can actually use those users who have watched your video as part of your marketing list and bid higher for those because they've already engaged with your brand and seen what you have to offer. So you show up first as they're searching for Camry oil changes or nearby service centers. Since you already know their interest and you already know what they're looking for, they're going to be a much more valuable and engaged customer and probably service and schedule a service appointment with you. So it's a really great opportunity for you to tie the people who have watched your videos and engaged with your content into their search experience as well. And that's it. So hopefully these strategies and best practices will help you build a really great parts and service campaign. Here's a few key takeaways to talk about as we recap everything before we go into Q&A. So 1, expand search keywords per service. Create a separate campaign that has specific parts and services, terminology, and keywords that match your brand, your dealership, and the models that you sell and that you service. Use local bid adjustments to show and help those who need immediate help. Implement extensions to drive direct calls. Think about having more than 5 extensions if you can offer all those so that it can rotate and match the intent of those customers who are looking for specific ways to contact you. And then when you have the time, start building ongoing engagement with video so you can continue finding those people who are looking at that 30K maintenance, that 60K maintenance a couple of years down the line and see your content and engage with your content. Before we get into Q&A, we also want to share a few pieces of insights that we have. We have a new article on Think with Google on parts and services with a lot of the research that I talked about today, as well as even more. And we also have a monthly automotive newsletter you can sign up for in this link as well. You can get really great insights, not just about services and parts, but also about new car sales, trends, and other consumer insights too. And also, we'll have another Partners Academy on air on December 14th to talk a little bit more about best practices for the automotive dealer for new car sales. We're going to be talking about a new automotive dealer guidebook to drive more car sales, since we're seeing that digital is a big influencer for anyone who's looking for new car buyers. In fact, it's a primary source for 95% of new car buyers to learn more about what they're buying, research, and understand where they can buy that from. You can register today at the link below, events.withgoogle.com/Academy on Air. And with that, we'll jump straight into Q&A. I'm going to take a few moments to actually open up the laptop and get into the questions, but feel free to start entering all the Q&A you have in there. So while the questions are loading, I can talk a little bit about a couple questions that we frequently get from people for parts and services. So one is, I talked a little bit about winter services and getting everyone ready for the winter right now. But one of the main things to think about, and people usually ask, is, do I need to have a service campaign all year round? And the answer to that is yes. If you actually don't have a service campaign yet, you should definitely set up a separate service campaign that goes all year round. Mainly because there's seasons and people are changing, like for winter tires and such. But like I mentioned, people are always looking for oil changes, 30K maintenances, and other things. And so there's no real seasonality that's really hitting every single time. It's really great if you actually have a service campaign that's running year round and always on. It's worth it to also consider as a dealership how often you have availability in your service space. So if you don't have availability, think about turning your ads lower and only focusing on certain specific campaigns for those services, maybe the ones you offer the most, and then going into reopening the rest of the buckets of different keywords that you have once you know you have more services available. Another thing to think about for services and timing is, like, again, use ad scheduling. Take a look at when you want to have your budget throughout the day if people are actually browsing and looking at services while you're open 8 to 5 versus showing it late in the evening. This way you can actually have your budget ready for those who are looking to call you and schedule appointments immediately. Give me 1 second and I'll take a look at a few of the questions that you guys have here. Another question we typically get is what other ways there are to use customer data in AdWords. So many dealerships have a really good breadth of customer data that they can use to put into AdWords. I mentioned remarketing list as one piece to use data from your website, which is really great to, again, re-engage those people who have gone to your site and visited your pages. Another great way to use your own customer data is to look at customer match. Customer match is a way for you to create a new list of customers that you can target to within AdWords by uploading a list of email addresses that you have from your specific shoppers and customers. So if you know that you have a large list of new car buyers in their emails, and you know within a few months or so that they're actually going to start looking for maintenance help, you can actually create that list of new car buyers and then use that customer match list to then match either the oil changes or the other, like the 30K maintenances as well, and driving more engagement there and showing up to those who you already know your brand, know your dealership. So we have a question here from the YouTube live chat that asks, if a video is provided that shows how to do a minor car repair, and that may infringe upon what the dealership, or might also talk about what the dealership can do already, how do the how-to videos help in the instance of showing up on YouTube? Like I mentioned, there's actually a lot of people who watch those videos and understand what's going on with it and then go to the dealership anyway. So 65% of people are actually still watching those how-to videos. I think a lot of people, and this is just a little anecdotal for me, but you'll watch those videos and you'll see them and they're simple, but a lot of times people just want to get it done and get it done immediately. So people may not also have the time to say, do an oil change, buy the equipment, buy the material to lift the car up. They're just going to the dealership directly. So the immediacy of having 40% of folks who want help immediately and right now, as well as the people who are watching YouTube and then still influencing going into the dealership, I think helps you drive, again, really good traffic and brand awareness. So they may be watching that. It may be something minor, but the likelihood that they'll still contact and see and match and compare what that service might be for you for that convenience is also something really important. We have another question around how to be sure that the right people are seeing the YouTube ads. So One thing you could do on YouTube, which is great, is using in-market audience and affinity targeting to choose the automotive specific vehicles that you can look at. So there actually are categories such as parts and service where you can directly target your TrueView ads to parts and services. So it touches those people who are viewing those videos. You can layer on top of that and have remarketing. So not only is it people who have watched your channel and those videos now, but then also you can remarket them to see it as they're watching other content, but they're still in the search for a new car service. You can actually go through there as well. So think about using additional targeting and not just doing run of YouTube. Think about starting first with parts and services through YouTube and then go to the other channels as well. Great. So that looks like all the questions we have for today. It was a pleasure talking through this with everybody. Again, I love coming to the Google Partners Academies on Air because I think it's always a great chance for us to share your best practices and help you all succeed. Again, we'll have one more Academy on Air for later this year for the automotive specific content, which will be December 14th, talking about our dealer guidebook. And I'm really excited to have that there. So good luck, safe driving out there, and make sure that you have a great holiday. Bye, everyone.